Hello there, it's Jo from Minerva. Today we're going to do a short tutorial on how to put in an invisible zip but to pattern match your back panels at the same time. If you're putting an invisible zip in the centre back of a top and you've got quite a large print, then you'll want to be pattern matching that so that you don't have a break in your pattern or a pattern that jars. If you've got a small ditzy print or something that's just a very faded pattern, you can probably get away with not doing it. But if you've got a large bold print or a very obvious horizontal stripe running through your fabric, then you'll need to be knowing how to match up that pattern either side of the zip. First thing you'll need to do is to cut your fabric pieces using a pattern matching technique. I want to cut a shell top and it's got a zip that runs down the back, but you might be making a dress that has a zip down the back, but either way the same principles will apply. So you'll have a back piece of your blouse, top or dress, and this line here is the line where the zip is going to go. So wherever we put this pattern piece on this large print fabric, we're going to be slicing through quite a large scale pattern. The first thing you need to do is to mark your seam allowance on your paper piece. So this one's got it already marked on, and this will denote for us the cutting line and the seam joining line, and they're very different because when I fold it, that is going to be where my zip joins the other half of the zip. I'm going to place that on grain onto the fabric. I'm not going to disturb those two centres of the flower. I'm just going to use a different part. I haven't got my fabric folded double, I've got it single. And now I'm going to draw around my pattern piece so that I can cut it out. It's got a beige piece here, a yellow piece here, and a little white mark, and I'll be easily able to find that little white mark on the pattern repeat. When I find the pattern repeat, I want the other half of this yellow flower. So I'm going to flip my pattern piece over. Because I'm not cutting it double, then I will need to have an opposite piece. I'm looking for that same part of flower, little beige on the top, yellow on the bottom, and a little white part of the flower that I had here, and I'm going to match it up with that little line I made. And now I can open out the cut line, draw around that one and cut that one out. It's worth a check. It's not always possible, but take a look at your selvage edges, because if you've got a very large repeat, you might get the repeat of the pattern on the selvage. You can't sew a zip to the selvage because the selvage is like a thicker, chunkier fabric, but if you just fold 5mm away from there, you'll get a nice folding fabric. And you can see that I'm actually got a little bit of that from there, that from there, that from there. So if I fold my fabric here, I can get a really, really good pattern match just off this selvage. So I'm going to fold these in as if that was my zip line. and I could cut my fabric that way, and I'll show you where the pattern pieces would go. So I'm still using the stable length grain of my fabric, and I've got the cross grain going here, and my join is right down there. So now our seam edge, we can imagine, is there, and then we would flip over, make a mark, flip over and cut out this side. And of course our allowance that we've got folded down there is allowed for in that fold we made with the iron. If you can get a pattern match on the Salvage, it's quite useful because you can really put it together and see. If you can't, then you'll need to cut two separate pieces, marking with a pin where your little pieces of pattern will match. So whichever method you used, the first part of putting your invisible zip in is actually a pattern matching skill. Next, you're going to put the right hand side of your invisible zip in. So put one side in, and then I'll show you how to make sure that when your zip matches the other side, you're catching the pattern. The fold line is really crucial because we want that mark there, that fold line there, to be where our teeth run up to. So I'm going to undo the zip, and with the right side of the zip, this is the flattest side of the zip, with the right side of the zip touching the right side of the fabric, going to pin the zip in place. Okay, once the one side of the zip's in and that's pressed, I'm going to zip up the invisible zipper, and we're going to match up the pattern, and we need some key markings for particular parts of the pattern. So the first place I'd like to draw a line is at the bottom of the first leaf. Then I've got two little points here which finish off these two leaves, and now I'm on to this bit here, so I'm just going to mark where these two leaves go, and I'm not marking the fabric that I've sewn, I'm marking the zipper tape. And now I can unzip my zipper, and I've got some key lines now to match up the key parts of my pattern. So the first marking is for the bottom of this leaf, so I'm going to match that up and pin. I'm going to find the next, which are the two tips, two leaf tips, and pin this one. This is the other half of a leaf, the kind of edge of a leaf. And I'm going to keep matching up the rest of the pattern to the rest of the zip, and then I can sew the second side of the zip in. If you pin nice and far away from the edge of the zip, you then have the opportunity to do up the zip and take a look at your match. Obviously I haven't pinned it right up to the edge, but I will be sewing right up to that edge. Okay, to finish the zip off, join up the rest of the seam, the unsewn seam, keep the tail of the zip out of the way, so pin that up out of the way, and then we can sew from the bottom, from the hem, along the fold line, copying the line that we've used for our zip, and then we're just going to make our stitching line up with the bottom of the zip by 1 stitch. I hope that's helped you, and it's a little technique that you can put in the back of your mind next time you choose a bold or horizontal print. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.